Inside Story Uganda, real source of political updates.
Soon, and he will now go in the trenches to look for elections.
The timetable is no longer in his hands. If you're going to contest for elections, the Electoral Commission has announced a roadmap. You are supposed to resign a public job.
So he's quitting.
So he will not live at his own whim. So he now has to be whipped out of the media center.
Well, I actually thought it was just a big joke when you declared here, but good to have you. Are you warming up?
Am I just warming up?
Fano will be a value addition to Parliament.
Thank you very much.
So before long, he will be among the beneficiaries of the bonanzas.
Simon, for avoidance of doubt, I have written my resignation letter. I'm handing it in tomorrow. And on Monday, I will be handing over office.
Pretty quick.
That's very quick.
Yes.
Or you were fired.
He's eager to be in Parliament.
If you are fired, you don't write a resignation letter.
Anyway.
You don't go back to hand over. Just tell you.
Thank you. We also joined by Honorable Michael Mavike, a former legislator and one of the founding members of the Democratic Alliance. Is what we're hearing true, that it's now shifting from Alliance to Democratic Front?
Not at all. The DA is going to remain a big tent. But you know that the DA is constituted of several formations, some registered and others non-registered. And those members inside the DA who want to contest for the next election will certainly choose one of the platforms inside the DA. And they will run on that platform as an electoral vehicle. But the DA will remain the big tent.
Well, nice to have you.
Is
Thank you.
he meant to come back to Parliament?
I think I've seen your poster somewhere in Machindi, right?
No, due to public demand.
Why do you start with the no?
That's very interesting. And perhaps I'll just start with you. What's your take on the way the landscape is shaping up? You've seen your colleague, hitherto a very close friend, Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi, swearing that come rain...
Not just a close friend. Mwanga was the chairman of the Younger Democrats. Maviki was the Secretary General.
So they've related for long. Well, he has declared that some of the vacant constituencies that have to be filled include those of Honorable Mpuga and the other dissenters. What's your take?
No, I think Mr. Mwanga is engaged in a very big diversion. And I want to advise my brother Bobby Wine not to listen to him. The focus now should not be on trying to remove and fight and make competition in constituencies which have already been liberated. The focus must be on those constituencies which the NRM has been winning with unopposed candidates. And the focus must also be in those constituencies which the NRM has actually had a foothold for such a long time. And even in areas largely outside Uganda. NUP has 55 out of the 57 MPs coming from one region. So it is important that focus shifts to the rest of the country to make that party a truly national movement. As you know, I was deeply involved in the formation of NUP. You know for sure that I and Mwanga, actually Mwanga chaired the initial efforts in Nigeru that resulted into the formation of what we call the DP reunion. Now, the DP reunion intended to bring together scattered forces, and indeed the results were immense. Once we got together through the reunion, we brought new momentum that ended up in this new formation called NUP. To take you a bit back, we realized at the time that the opposition had been winning West Nile. Semogele won West Nile, and Besije won West Nile all the time. The opposition had been winning Lango, it had been winning Acholi. It had been winning in and out Teso. And the problem was in Buganda and in Busoga. So we assumed at the time that if the West Nile, Lango, Acholi remain voting in similar trends, and you do work in Buganda and Busoga, you would certainly create a very big problem for Mr. Museveni. If anything, win him.
So that validates the argument that NUP is Buganda centered.
We did concentrate. I want to tell you that NUP did not win by accident. It was a deliberate plan, and I'm happy to have been part of that plan. We concentrated effort in flipping Buganda. We concentrated effort in flipping Busoga. And we had the Bijirwa, we had the Sam Mulubega, we had the Mutema spending nights in parts of Uganda, in parts of Busoga. But when we flipped to Uganda and Busoga, because you all know, some people have been saying, no, just 4 months they were able to flip Uganda. No, that work was a carryover from the DP reunion. You remember that from the DP reunion, we had intended to operate inside the DP. And when we had problems with Mao scattering the whole effort, all of us moved into NUP. And the chief architect was, of course, the person who had all these files, and the plan was Sura Chidanala. Sura Chidanala, who had been the organizing secretary of DP, moved with the entire register and resource into NUP. And that was the basis. And that is why you have that of the 57 MPs, nearly 47 of them are originally DP. So, sadly, when we were able to succeed in Uganda and Busoga, West Nile flipped back to Museveni, Lango flipped back, Acholi flipped back. So we had assumed that had we had the North voting as previously, we would have put up a very good show, if not win the opponent.
Before I move to OO, is it fallacious to imagine that NUP still has a firm grip on Buganda, and they can attain the dream of getting to 100 constituencies?
Now, sadly, as I said, there was a problem that the other regions did not move with us. I think they rejected the candidate that we presented. They've got reasons. Actually, at one point I was in Northern Uganda, and we were hearing from them why they did not move, why they did not vote as previously. Now, it is very sad that a region which we concentrated a lot of effort in winning, today a lot of battles have been introduced. You don't problematize your stronghold. What NUP is doing now is to problematize a stronghold which it should actually be consolidating. And that is the worry. While Mr. Museveni is moving back to Northern Uganda to consolidate his gain, is moving to Teso to consolidate, NUP is incidentally problematizing its own backyard.
Thank you. What's your reading of how things are unfolding? You feel the energy that is coming from NUP in their bid to hold the grip on Buganda especially?
If they want to remain in Buganda, that's really their choice. For the NRM, we are looking at the whole country. Like Onwabika has said, NRM is consolidating its previous stronghold, is consolidating newly acquired territories, if I may use that word, of Acholi, of Lango, of extreme or mid West Nile, of Kasese, of Rukunjiri, which had slipped. We are also addressing the issues that made Buganda snub NRM and President Museveni. Luckily, the last 4.5 years has shown, or is showing every other day, that the trust of the people, the voters in Uganda, in NUP, was misplaced, was based on bad information, and they have proved it all round. For the 4 years, the MPs elected on NUP tickets, you can, out of the 57, you can probably count 3 that you can say have performed the job of an MP in Parliament, or even in the constituency, even if you talk about welfare issues in the constituency. In my assessment, they seem to be people who came...
So you're saying only 3 out of 57?
About 3. The overwhelming majority are people who appear to me to have come to a mango tree simply to pick fruits. And I think the people, the voters, are alive to that fact. Added to what Honorable Mavika has just said, they have failed utterly. They are failing. I don't see them walking back to correct. They are failing to manage internal contradictions, even contradictions that otherwise should remain peaceful. They have made it antagonistic and irreconcilable. Meanwhile, the NRM is bending backwards to ensure that contradictions that had emerged are being reconciled. The issues in Uganda, I don't think was because NUP were in Busoga. I don't think it is because of NUP's legwork. It was a contradiction within the leadership of NRM. You remember that we had a number of top leaders in Busoga who are NRM, who for different fears, I think personal fears, chose to offload all the problems in Busoga. It could be unemployment, it could be infrastructure, it could be issues of the lake fishing, it could be issues of the forest, it could every problem. They decided to offload those problems to the person of Yoweri Museveni. And the voters believed that lie. That's actually the reason why, while President Museveni lost to Busoga, he won only 3 districts. Nearly all members of parliament, I think there are 42 or 47 members of parliament from Busoga region, nearly all of them, save Fasubani Basariwa and 2 opposition in Jinja City, 3 in Jinja City, and Honorable, my brother, Honorable Abudu Katuntu, who you may find it now difficult to locate where he stands. Politically, I mean. And I say this with the sincerity, he's my friend, we are really... The overwhelming majority were returned strongly on the NRM ticket. Why? Because the disagreement, the fears of some of the leaders there, they could not confront. To say, no, these problems cannot be put just on President Museveni. It should be put on the leadership of the NRM as a group. And some of those leaders who are heaping those problems on President Museveni have been in government with the President Museveni since 1986, since 1989. But they refuse to take responsibility. I think even today, if you ask them the problems of Busoga, what is it? They'll say Museveni. Why? Because they think it is the easier way to do self-preservation.
Would you be bold enough to mention the names?
I hope this time round the NRM machinery will not permit them to get away with the falsification of facts. Now, my reading of the rest of the country NRM is growing from strength to strength. President Yoweri Museveni, if, as is likely, to be the candidate of the NRM, will win.
But can you predict the margin?
I foresee NRM recovering some of the lost constituencies and ground in Buganda. Let me just give you an example. I foresee, for example, maybe it is too early, but I foresee Honorable Muyingo, for instance, returning. I foresee Honorable Nabakova returning. I foresee recovery of parts of Mitiana Mubende area. I foresee part of Chiboga and so on. So, even in Buganda, NRM is likely to square up with the combined opposition.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Honorable Otto, what's your analysis of how the ground is shaping up, especially now that the quest for key battlegrounds is on?
Thank you again for inviting me. It's been a while. I think it's 4 years.
Yeah,
it's been
forever.
And my views are intact. I'm glad to see.
I can see you have grown beards now.
Oh, Fondo. My reading is this. It will be threefold: Buganda, Eastern, and the North. Let me start with the North. No one should take Central North for granted. And I'm talking with authority of Acholi. No one. I'm talking with authority. President Museveni may not get votes in Acholi. Even NUP or any other opposition party may not get votes in Acholi. Because the elections, as we head towards 2026, is issue-based.
So what is shifting the odds?
What is shifting the odds is that we have 77,000 cows of the Balalo herdsmen trampling our gardens. So people are fed up. People are fed up, and you are going to see massive protest votes. And unfortunately, or fortunately, the Balalo are the president's tribesmates. So the whole issue in Acholi is hinging on that. I can talk with authority. So, Dugo Ofondo Pono, don't add us to statistics. This is work in progress, which we will not take it lying down. It was hinged on two issues: environment, but the president came with a presidential directive on charcoal, which was greeted with positive energy in the entire Acholi, and also the executive order asking the Balalo to vacate. Unfortunately, the president has issued two other directives, which seems to be countering the previous one. So whoever is there in the drawing board, and those who will have the biggest say in the final direction of Acholi politics, is myself and Honorable Gilbert Olanya. It's myself and Honorable Gilbert.
You're now the new self-appointed kingmaker.
I talk with authority. Now, coming to the central, I see a situation where, except Mpuga, NUP will sweep the entire central. So the works of the DA, the Democratic Alliance, that my good friend Mabika is in. Mabika is my good friend. He recruited me to UYD from Makerere University in 1996. Thank you. I joined the UYD and it gave me heights. But these works of DA, the Democratic Alliance in the central, is like termites building ant hill, and they think they can colonize the whole world. I don't see the DA shaking NUP stronghold. There may only be one survivor in the names of Mpuga, who is my good friend, and maybe the woman MP in Mpuga's constituency. But I see the entire central being swept by Bobby Wine's NUP. I don't see space for NRM.
Why do you bet on Mpuga?
I think he's a neat politician, and I think he has the time to really infect the constituency with his ideas and why they fell out. So it will be like the last bastion. I don't see a situation where the people of Mpuga's constituency accept Bobby Wine's candidate. I don't see that easily. Now, where NUP is making a technical blunder, and I pray they make it, is to try to attack a solid legislator like Ssemujju Ibrahim Nganda. Because Ssemujju Ibrahim has become an MP with a national constituency. His views resonate as far as my village in Upolachen, as far as Obongi. There are very few MPs, Dugo Fondo Ponda and Mabike, who had reached that threshold of being national MPs. Maybe we were like 10. Segona, Mwanga Kivumbi, Mpoga, Norbert Mao then, Ssemujju, myself. There are very few MPs that become national MPs and not constituency MPs. So for NUP, for reasons they know or they don't know, to try to attack the constituency of Ssemujju in the name of claiming Buganda is so parochial. It is so parochial. Now, what should bother anyone interested in political philosophy like me is that NUP will not expand to Central North. There is a barrier that we political scientists cannot answer.
I thought the North is opposition.
Yes, it is opposition, but there is unwritten consensus in Acholi, in Lango. I'm not counting Karamoja because Karamoja, Kapchorwa, and maybe Aluz, for them, their policy is Agip, any government in power, they will support. So if you go towards West Nile, the people of West Nile have seemingly accepted what is convenient and not what is right. So as an opposition politician, I see us also losing strongholds in West Nile. So I don't see NUP expanding into Central North. I don't see that. The reasons, I just have very preliminary thoughts. They are not conclusive, and I don't want to talk about it here. But at the same time...
why would NUP reject a popular party, opposition, that has a strong footprint in Central Region?
I think it boils down to management style that Bobby Wine is taking. I was only in Parliament with him for 2 years. Then the last time I remembered interacting with him closely is when I was in the cell, when we were arrested during the Toji Kwatako. So I've not got so much quality time to interface with him. But I think Bobby Wine as an individual has achieved a lot beyond normal, predictable expectations. But listen to this, it may not be very convenient. He will not get the 37% again in the next election. They will not get the 37%. So they needed to engage in tactful alliances. They needed to engage people like Mpuga. They needed to use the Catholic Church. I'm a Roman Catholic. I don't know how a man from Pade can become a Roman Catholic. I am an Acholi. I'm not a Roman, but they tell me I'm a Roman Catholic. They need to de-escalate their fight on people like Ssemujju. They need to engage Nganda Mafabi. They need to engage Amri Atuboi because they seem to be doing a lot of political work in the East that would deny both NUP and NRM the votes they basically traditionally got in the East. So I see a situation where unless Dugo or Fondo Pondo, unless we can develop capacity to front parliamentary candidates in all the parliamentary seats in Uganda, the way my good friend Honorable Mabike was saying, unless opposition can front parliamentary candidates in all the elective positions all over Uganda, I don't see change coming soon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Honorable Ssemujju, before I bring you on board, I'd like you to watch the clip of Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi's vigor for a new onslaught, and you'd actually tell us whether you feel targeted yourself in Kira municipality. Take a look.
Every time Uganda has been at a crossroad, the people of Uganda have found it in themselves the courage and charisma to confront a dictatorship. That one we are going to do again.
Well, along the way, I'll also be bringing you another recording where he was, with a lot of vigor, saying this time NUP is targeting 100 constituencies, including those that are already liberated. What's your share?
You see, the way you have framed the debate, you'll allow me to begin from something related but different. If you look at the results of the census, last year's housing and population census, we have 10 million young people aged 18 up to 30. 10 million. Those 10 million young people who are called youth in the Ugandan constitution are all voters. Only 1 million of them own a bank account. Only 1 million. Only 30% of those young people are in some form of employment. And I'm using the word some form because I have told you only 1 million own a bank account. It doesn't matter how much money is there. I remember one time when Father Carlos was writing about the North, he went to an ATM machine and corrected all the receipts. And he said the balance on each receipt was less than 10,000. That's just one age bracket of 18 to 30. Then you have 30 to 40. In Uganda today, you have people who are considered by labor experts to be of working age, 14 to 64. There are 25 million people, but only 9 million are in some form of employment. The ones who are working, because if you look at government has about 500,000 people who share all the government jobs, and then NSSF has about 2 million who are registered, but only about 800,000 are active. So the regional tribal strongholds will play a part. But these young people are restless. When you see Museveni stopping Bob Wine from mobilization, the most recent one, they accused him and his group of being involved in an accident while going to Masaka. And that became a reason to stop them. The one of last week, Bob Wine was in Mbale addressing a town hall meeting. I think he has abandoned the idea of rallies because they will not allow him. But even the one of town hall meetings, they said, but you had crowds blocking traffic in Iganga. So even those ones we have stopped. I think the demography is going to play a bigger role than the regional interests my colleagues have articulated. Young people are restless. There are no jobs. This economy is malfunctioning. If you look at the budget, I am, as a shadow minister now for finance, going through budget and looking at the issues. You have government employees, about 500,000 people. The wage bill, the government wage bill, is about 9 to 9.5 trillion out of a budget of 70. And then the money that the 500,000 people are using for fuel, for workshop, for training, the total comes to about 16 trillion. That is the money that is in the hands of 500,000. And then Ofono Pondo's boss will throw 1 trillion to the rest of the population. He will fuel his car, go around the country photographing himself with the pigs, 2 pigs at a farm, 100 chicken, and then he will say, now I am going to put everybody in the money economy. So these are going to be real issues, even before you come to the regional issues. And for me, they are a worry, because the response of the state has been brutality, arresting young people, keeping them in prisons, frightening them, looking for all sorts of excuses that they have put on military berate. They know they are not military berate, but they're looking at the way of confronting them. The election in Kawempe being one of those where you got the full force of the state to bear. So that's how I look at this election. Now I want to come to the question that you have said. But I wanted to begin with that background, that these young people, for me, doesn't matter where they are, whether they are in a central north, whether they are in a you look at an area like Karamoja, the level of vulnerability. I was looking at the statistics. In Karamoja, the whole of Karamoja, 1.4 million people. They have 4,000 graduates. 70% of them are still engaged in open defecation, no toilets. So the level of vulnerability is what the NRM is exploiting. So what the NRM will register and present as strongholds, what is surprising me is that they are the most vulnerable regions in Uganda. If you look both at the recent population census and at the multi-dimensional poverty report of UBOS, almost every indicator in Karamoja. In Karamoja, people are sleeping in one room because the household in Uganda, defined by the UBOS, is 4.2 people per family. In Karamoja, people are sleeping in one room as a family are 70%, followed by Teso, followed by Western Nile, followed by...
But Karamoja is an NRM strong.
That's the point I make. That the strongholds of NRM are not because of the popularity of the party, but it's because of the level of vulnerability. So the more vulnerable people are, the more loyal they are, because they need to survive. And this is what the figures show from I mean, the Karamoja is number 1, followed by Western Nile, Acholi, Rango, and then Teso. And these are the areas that Mr. Ofono, the MP2B, has said they are consolidating. So they are using the vulnerability because they are, even in Busoga, by the way, although Bobo and one in Busoga, many of the MPs in Busoga, Ofono, if you didn't know now, I want you to know, they were in banks changing notes of 2,000 MPs, including friends. On the day of the election, they were lining up people, including people that you know who are our friends of Ofono. They were lining up people and giving them 2,000 to go and
for a vote.
For a vote in Busoga. I said people, yes, 2,000. So the NRM does not seek to win elections because of popular program, but they want to take advantage of the vulnerability. But coming to regional politics,
yes, how terrible is Doop's bid?
Where I agree with the Odonga Otto, my last 14 years of participation in opposition politics, usually a time like this will be time for building alliances, which is a principle in war, that before you go to execute a war, the first thing is to build alliances. Even America, powerful as it is, you will hear them more often than not speaking about our allies. Even when they are going to confront a snake, they want to go with all the allies, because in war it is a principle. You will be too simplistic to think you're going to go it your own way. I was telling a friend, I've watched some clips of my brother, Mwanga Chifumbi, who is intelligent. Mwanga Chifumbi was in politics when I was in the media, so he's more experienced than many of us. His focus, the focus of Mwanga, cannot be a regional focus, especially in a region where you are doing very well. Of course, you need to consolidate it.
Yeah, but thanks to his position as deputy for Buganda,
you need to give hope to other regions, because in the past, and I want to say this, many of the politicians in Uganda, many, did not have a national outlook. Many areas did not believe that they are worth leading the country. I don't think Mwanga Chifumbi needs to bring that memory back, because I think we've done fairly well, our group in Parliament.
Do you find it parochial that NUP is focusing on Buganda?
I don't know, because Bob Wine was in Mbale, he was in Busoga. I don't think the focus is in Uganda, but the communication needs to change, because you may think it is simple. Communication is everything in a political season. You make one statement and you will not walk it back, because you can't be a leader of Mwanga's profile, Mwanga's experience, and the radio stations, the television stations quoting you as saying your main focus is to consolidate here. No, that cannot. You need to get some other people to do that. Mwanga Chifumbi, as Odonga said, cannot do a serare in Arua, cannot do a serare in Acholi, cannot do a serare in Kavale. So you are a national leader. Don't assign yourself regional responsibility. You are smolarizing your struggle.
Actually, in the parts of Acholi, such conduct is being interpreted as a biafe or kabaka yeka. They say they have regrouped in NUP, so people are very cautious dealing with them. So
it is serious, because that's what we've been accused all the time.
Yeah, but I want you to look at a scenario where among the constituencies that are targeted, there is yours.
No, I don't want to profile it that way, because in every election I have faced opposition. I became an MP, there was DP. In fact, in the first election, I defeated NRM, DP came third. In the subsequent election, it was the same story. Defeated NRM, DP was third. In the last election, and this should worry Ofono Opondo. In the constituency, I was able to, my vote was 47,000. NUP came second with 16. NRM had 4,000. In my area now, there is no NRM to compete against Ofono Opondo. NRM is not there. And I know they know it, because in Kawempe they had told Museveni that they registered 25,000 NRM membership in their book. And that's why he kept saying, but I have spent 40 billion.
Know that every region has got influencers. And these influencers come across these demographics. There are many undercurrents that influence voting patterns and opinions in regions. And for instance, I know that Buganda was flipped because of some of these influencers. I know that, for instance, I could never imagine in 2021 that some influencers would flip the north, actually, to NRM. And yes, you know that this is a region which has been disgruntled for nearly 25 years. They had issues with the NRM, but they ended up voting. Why did they vote NRM 25 years down the road?
So which matrix will work this time?
We need to influence. So it is too early. I can tell you that it is too early. It is too early to say so and so is now in charge of a region. In the last election, who would ever imagine the emergence of NUP? NUP emerged 2 months to nomination. All of us were focused on the DP reunion events, the DP mobilization, and then all of a sudden there is this mass exodus of all the key actors from the DP into NUP. So it is still quite early.
So is there likely to be a replay?
Oh yeah. You know, for instance, that the political parties form interest groups. Some of these interests are personal. You know, you marry your personal interest with group interest, and then this becomes national. When Mao began doing things shabbily in DP at the last election, every DP actor, prominent DP actor, moved. So how these individual actors now, how these individual organizations manage the coming process is going to determine their strengths in the regions.
Okay, for the benefit of our viewers, how delicate is the coming process? You could share a few details.
You know for sure that we have a primary. We have party primaries. Now, the party primaries have always been a source of confusion and loss of strength. Internal contradiction in the party. How the Ssemujjus managed the moon to Winnie issues led to the present state of FDC. And there's no way NUP would have emerged, even DP bloc would have emerged, had the FDCs managed that internal contradiction. So we still have a lot of time to determine who is actually going to be strong where. Now, coming to the question you have asked me, the DA has made it very clear that opposition parties need to put up their act together to make sure that there are reforms, electoral reforms. If we do not succeed in even having bare concessions, the presidential election result is already on the blackboard for all of us to deduce. Because we have argued, and very clearly so, if we don't handle the way and the manner of appointment of the electoral commission, if you don't handle the way the presidential election results are transmitted, if you don't reform the way the presidential elections are declared, then the writing is not.
Yeah, but your proposals have been greeted with a lot of scorn from the key players.
It is because of the immaturity of most of our actors. Many times, just like Ishomuanga, we don't focus on the majors. We focus on the minors. And that's where the OOs of this world beat us. Now, that's a very big mistake. The opposition, the Ugandan opposition, should be speaking with one voice on electoral reforms, because reforms are a key influencer of the next election. So we have really not managed this very well, and I am very sad that that has been so.
Yeah, but how serious are the new players on the block?
Yes, for instance,
old wine in new bottle.
We in the DA have always had the ideas that have helped transform the entire opposition. I want to give you this example. We have said in the DA that in order for us to make headway in the next election, we need something we call one-to-one model. I don't know why our colleagues are failing to understand a very simple concept. One-to-one model. One-to-one model means that for every movement, where NRM is, we must front one opposition, regardless of his political party. Someone has been talking about a legislator like Ssemujju Nganda. Otto, Odonga has been talking about singling some of these names. Now, there is no reason why, for instance, NUP presents a candidate against Ssemujju Nganda.
Even you.
Democracy.
There's no reason.
Even Mabike. I should have stated that myself.
Okay? So, we are actually managing this one very maturely. Unlike Kenya. Now, one-to-one model means that a political party concentrates on building force and building power in an area where it has most control. For instance, there would be no reason why NUP would present a candidate against Basalibo.
Are they doing that?
Of course, yes, they are doing it. And there's even no reason why FDC or PFF would present a candidate against me. Very simple concept.
You're discussing
so
ideals.
You simply need to. We have now introduced.
These are ideals
this
now.
This is the power of DA now. This is the power of DA, and we are developing this and we are selling it. And our friends are failing to understand it. Our friends are failing to buy it. When we go to Aru, you know you have in the Otto you have a good candidate. Why waste time? Why waste time? If you are DP, if you are UPC, if you are any other party.
Okay, before I digress, maybe you also need to look at the assertion that the key constituencies that are now being focused on by NUP are ones where your leader has a footprint. Nyendo Mukungwe, Chimanya Kabonera, Mitiana. NUP is very deliberate on getting them out at any cost.
Again, that talks a lot on the focus strategy and the general vision of those in quotes leading the opposition. I want to tell you one other issue.
When you say in quotes, are they not leading?
No, I will come to that. Now, let me come to this issue, my brother. The issue of having a consensus leader. This is what is lacking on our side. I want to give you an example. The Kenyans were faced with a similar situation towards Moi's exit. Actually, Moi had been leading Kenya with the minority. Moi's can was scoring 27% of the total vote, and the rest of the opposition could divide the other votes. It is until the opposition sat down and said, look, Odonga, you are very good. Odonga, you have been hurt most, you have been imprisoned most, you have a huge following. But for the purpose of bringing together all and coalescing all these forces, we need somebody to unite us. And that person was not as vibrant. That person was merely a bridge builder in the names of Kibaki. The Ugandan opposition right now needs a Kibaki. You don't need the most popular. You need somebody who will sit Otto Odonga down. He will bring on board the Ssemujju. He will bring Besije and the rest. That is the kind of person we must now agree on.
I want to move to but besides the photo moments and the press conferences, do the new players on the block really shake the status quo?
As far as we are concerned, we've got a good strategy, and I disagree when my brother Otto said, you know, the DA may not make a lot of inroad in Buganda. Actually, we are not just interested in making inroads in Buganda. Our strategy is national. We are going to we are making inroads all over, and we are trying to work with each and every other political formation. For instance, the DA will not present candidates in Bugisu, because we know there's a good force there. We may not present candidates in Teso, because we know that there are some active and very good players. But we are going to concentrate on those key areas where we have power and we have lots of influence.
How much of a threat are the new power forces that have just emerged?
I don't see the DA of Brother Michael Mavike. I think it's going to be a near stalemate, that one.
It's the same way you downplayed NUP.
No. Of course. He has always done so.
I don't see DA. Perhaps let me put it differently. The people driving DA have a history, have a track record. Since when have they been national? They have been tribal, regional, Nganda. Since when did they become national?
One thing.
I doubt that when they are looking for personal seats, they will have time to be national and therefore canvass the vote nationally. I doubt. But we shall come back here and discuss that. Two, Honorable Mavike argues as if the interests of the parties now in opposition are mutually are similar, are the same. Otherwise, you would be one party, therefore. If your interests were the same, you would be one party. But the fact that you were 7 different political parties, it means your interests are different. Your styles are different. Your approaches are different. And therefore, you are not going to achieve easily. This thing, I think this is textbook of saying one to one. Because even in Kenya, you saw, after Kibaki, how did that coalition, alliance last? How long
But
did
it succeeded.
Well, it succeeded
yes.
temporarily.
It did
So,
succeed.
And I think that's the mistake you make. You think that NUPU's interest is the same as DA. Otherwise, why are they chasing you like dogs hunting, chasing a prey? The fact that NUP has set its dogs on you, on Mpuga, on my brother Abedi Bwanika, and they are now trying to set on Ssemujju, means you are pursuing different interests, probably mutually exclusive or even antagonistic. In your own case, in Mpuga's case, it is actually very antagonistic. That's why your plea, I think your plea is to try to preserve yourself so that you win a seat. It is unlikely that they are going to give it to you on a silver platter, and I dare you, let us wait whether they will reconcile with you. Now, Honorable Odonga says he is going to be the kingmakers.
Self-appointed.
In self-appointed. Let us wait. It will be good if Honorable Odonga wins his former seat back, Aru County, and comes back to Parliament. Hopefully, we shall meet there. Now, Honorable Odonga, this is not the first time your group, your side, has actually whipped matters in a sensational way. First of all, the question of the Balano, who you say are grazing their cows on your crops gardens. How did the Balano, first of all, find themselves there? Is there any Mulano? Or are there many Balano who just came from Kiruhura or from Isinjiro and found themselves, by themselves, imposed themselves? Some of your fellow elites, political elites, actually some former MPs and MPs, are the ones who took them there. They actually paid money. And I think those, while sensational you can raise it, they are things that can be explained and may not be a serious electoral issue. Yes, now, because nobody has bothered to explain thoroughly, you are trying to make it an election issue. You remember there was a time when your group tried to make the question of war and insecurity an issue. But when the government resolved those issues, 2.6, 2.7, 2.8, things changed. What you call flipping. Actually flipped, West Nile flipped all of a sudden, Lango flipped gradually, Teso flipped all of a sudden towards NRM. Actually has flipped, has moved gradually into the NRM orbit. So I think the outstanding issues that you, the opposition, may want to make electoral issue, and this is my issue with the NRM, that we should be able to thoroughly explain, even where there is no solution. NRM should be able to explain why we are unable to provide the desired solution.
Thank you.
Where we have promised to do something, NRM should be able to explain, probably change of priorities, probably resources, probably let down, probably laxity. We should be able to give. Even the issues, even the issues, Honorable Ssemujju, let me just say, respond finally to what Honorable Ssemujju said. Yes, it is true, there are many young people who are facing different challenges. Those young people are not only in Buganda, they are not only in Karamoja. So how come the same young people, if you go to Kabale, if you go to Kisoro, If you go to Fort Po, if you go to Toro, they vote nearly 90% NRM, and yet they face the same challenges as the ones in Busoga. All boils down to how do their leaders explain to them the challenges they are facing. If in Buganda you have chosen, if in Busoga, as I said earlier on, in the towns, we the leaders have chosen to say the problem is actually not even NRM, the problem is Museveni and his family, the pet subject of Honorable Ssemujju. If it is not effectively countered, yes, your narrative will win the day, but that will only be temporary.
Yeah, but if I could ask,
yes,
when you look at the new formations,
yes,
there's the on one part, there's PFF. Which of those would give you a run for your money?
Well, first of all, PFF broke away from FDC, and you know it broke away from FDC when FDC had ceased to be a threat. So I don't see, and this PFF is a small branch. In fact, it is a tribal branch of FDC in Buganda and some parts of Rukunjiri of Ankole. I don't see PFF going beyond Buganda, I'm afraid. I don't see it. I think it is going to be a subset of NOP. It may bring 1 or 2 MPs, but they will most likely be from here, maybe from this show, and probably
is this a constituency?
Yes, it's a constituency, and maybe my brother Francis Mujuchi. Beyond that, I doubt that PFF is a force that's going to be reckoned with in the coming election.
Thank you. Odonga, Otto, Honorable, do you look at the new formations as forces to reckon with?
Just a quick one. On the formation of DA, I don't know whether I've not been following Ugandan politics very keenly because I cross-pollinate. But you see, these days when you go to a hotel and ask for food and ask for katogo, they may serve the katogo on a glass plate. But we tend to look at the foot of the person bringing the food. If the person is shabby in the legs, not putting on a closed shoes, you may have to say, no, I don't feel like eating. Because the appetite now comes from the leg of the person, not from the glass plate. So, mark my words well, I'm a political philosopher talking. Save for liberating Mpuga constituency, DA is going nowhere. Because they are not neat. Their point of departure is akin to looking at the foot of the other person. I would personally go to Makindi to campaign for Mabike. He's a perfect gentleman. I know him, I worked with him in parliament. But your food is not clean. It would be very difficult to sell that food to people in the center.
What if they washed their food now?
I will then eat in the next hotel. You know, appetite is something which is spontaneous. Now, my good friend Ofondo Ponda, I'm glad you are coming into politics. I hope you are a registered voter, because at the end of the voting, you may find that you have got only your vote. This is a very complex thing you are involving yourself in.
Are you saying
I hope it is not an electoral college.
Are you saying you are superhuman? For you can manage and the phone can't manage?
No, why I'm saying that is, politics you vote according to, you campaign according to issues that are of interest to your people. As of now, we have peasant farmers, Ssemujju Ibrahim, that cannot cultivate.
It is formed out of common object, and I don't want to agree. I think it is Otto who made a statement that, you know, now why do you want, your idea is about forming one organization out of 7 organizations. Every organization has exclusive interests. No, the power game is different. If alone, as we have seen, that there is no single political organization which can do the job that Ugandans require. If it is the common interest that we unite, get one platform to push a regime out, we wouldn't have any reservation whatsoever in working with NOP.
You see yourself at Kavule?
We have actually, in our previous efforts, to try and rally support for electoral reforms, have written to each and every change-seeking organization, including NOP. And we're able to meet FDC, we're able to meet GEMA, we're able to meet CP, we're able to meet
CP?
Yeah, CP, we met CP. We were able to meet PPP and the rest. And we're still waiting for that moment to meet with NUP over that. So when it comes to working together on a common front for change, we would absolutely have no reservations working with NUP.
Perhaps the recent photo where Honorable Kyagulanyi and your principal, Honorable Mathias Mpuuga, were seated together and having a light chat could speak volumes to overtures towards reconciliation.
That photo was by accident. These are fellows who found themselves accidentally in church. And in church, you are given a place to sit. And once you are given a place to sit, you may not say, no, I don't want it.
No, you can't refuse. You can sit me with Museveni and I sit there.
Sure.
No.
I will walk away.
Why don't you say with Honorable Nganda or Amria? Why Museveni?
I start with Museveni.
How about with Honorable Amria?
I sit with Nganda in parliament.
No.
Yes, I was with Amria on this show.
But we look forward to a moment when...
so have I answered your phone?
We look forward to a moment when we can be able to sit on the same table and really start talking serious business. I would think...
Who is bending for the other?
Well, in talks, I wouldn't think that there should be a particular party that bends for the other. I think you sit together on table as equals. For instance, Mathias has been a member of NUP. Today he is in DA. He's now leading another political formation. It means that his next meeting with Mr. Kyagulanyi will be meeting of equals, not meeting of a president and vice president. And this is what would be expected. We have written to each and every organization that's talking about change to have a discussion, a detailed discussion on how we can do this jointly, how we can do this job together. Because alone, as we have seen, the 25 years of FDC, we had Besigye here, we had Ssemujju here, we have had the Kyagulanyi, and if Kyagulanyi fails at the next election, he will equally be a next presidential candidate like Bwanika, Mukaku, Besigye and the rest. So it is critical and important.
But for this one, you look at him as a formidable candidate for 2026.
It is still early, as I told you. There are still processes coming. I am not like Honorable Odonga, who was already thrown in a towel, saying, now this is gone, this is so and so. No, I am not that.
Odonga and the Munga Kivumbi. They're in the 100.
Well, it is still quite early. There are so many processes coming. And also, remember, I told you that the influencers in most of these regions will determine the next trends.
Thank you. Do you see any game changes coming up ahead of 2026?
I don't see much. There would be slight movements, not decisive. I don't know what motivated, but Webs is not probably surprising. When Mwanga Kivumbi said, we are making Buganda no-go area for others. Now, if you say you're making Buganda no-go area for others, and that's where you are enclosed, do you want other people also to make their places a no-go area for you on that basis? Is that what he wants? Because human nature is such that when you see, like now me, Japadora to road there, Easterners, what Odonga to I think didn't want to say. If you say, we as Baganda, we are going to make this place a no-go area. Want the Acholi make Acholi no-go area for you, the Muganda? Or Lang or not to make because you know that's some of the things that have prevented the people who say they are the largest tribe in the country. Because it is marks of chauvinism, arrogance. Is this your area exclusive of others? So you say we are making it a no-go area for you?
Honorable Dongoto, you once said Acholi is a no-go area for Bobi Wine.
Even in Mbavazi.
Did I say that?
Mbavazi, you said.
You see,
So
Uganda is now going federal without the law. Each region has interests which cannot be compromised. If you didn't know that. So, I would rather we have negotiation based on interests of your people. Because national unity has become a dream. The dream that they started, my father studied in St. Leo's, Fort Portal. They took people from Barara to study in Gulu. They hope in 50 years we would fuse and become ethnically black.